Let me ask you a question. Have you ever lit yourself on fire, hoping someone else would feel your warmth, only to watch them stand there, cold and indifferent? Have you ever given your soul to someone who looked at your kindness as weakness, your effort as something they deserved but never earned? If you're nodding, if you've ever loved so deeply that it broke you, you already know this truth. Some people won't appreciate your presence until you're gone. Here's the problem: society tells you to fight for love, to stay loyal, to hold on tighter when people pull away. They sell you the illusion that effort fixes everything. But what if I told you that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let go? Walk away, quietly, without explanation. Let your absence be the voice they refused to hear when you were right there, screaming for their attention. This isn't about revenge. This is about you, your growth, your strength, your freedom. People don't talk about this enough, do they? That walking away doesn't make you weak. It doesn't mean you didn't try hard enough. It means you've decided to stop sacrificing yourself for someone who can't see your worth. It's Stoicism in action, choosing peace, choosing silence, choosing yourself over chaos. Because sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to say nothing at all. By the time you finish reading this, you'll see walking away not as a defeat, but as a transformation. You'll understand why silence is the most powerful response to people who never appreciated you. I'll give you the truth that no one else will, why they don't see your worth, why they come back, and why you shouldn't care when they do. I'll guide you through the process, how to walk away, how to rebuild yourself, and how to let silence speak louder than words ever could. This is your moment to rise, to rebuild, to let go of the weight you've been carrying for too long. If you're ready to hear the truth, sit down. Listen closely. Because once you understand the power of walking away, your life will never be the same again. And trust me, when you're done here, you'll want to stand up, hold your head high, and walk away from everything holding you back. Now, let's begin. 1. The power of silence. When was the last time you stayed quiet? Not because you didn't have something to say, but because you chose not to speak. Think about that. Most of us feel the need to explain ourselves, to shout our pain, to demand someone see us, hear us, validate us. Why? Because we're terrified of what happens if we don't. If we don't explain, what if they never understand? If we don't scream, what if they never notice? But what if I told you that silence is the most deafening sound of all? That when you stop talking, stop fighting, and simply leave, the emptiness you leave behind speaks louder than any words ever could. People don't expect silence. They don't know how to handle it. They're ready for arguments. They're prepared for tears. But when you walk away quietly, you force them to sit alone with themselves. And that, trust me, that's where the real truth lies. Picture this. You've been fighting for someone's attention, someone's love, someone's time. You've stayed up at night, sending text after text, hoping for a response that never comes. You've poured every ounce of yourself into someone who barely gave you their scraps. And still you stay. You tell yourself, if I just try harder, maybe they'll see how much I care. But they don't. Why would they? You're giving them everything while asking for nothing in return. Now, imagine what happens when you stop. When you wake up one day and decide you're done. No announcement. No dramatic goodbye. Just silence. You don't text. You don't call. You don't explain why you're leaving. You simply vanish. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's Stoicism. It's strength. It's choosing to protect your peace instead of sacrificing yourself for someone who can't even see you. Have you ever watched someone lose something valuable? They don't notice it's gone at first. They might go days, weeks, even months without realizing. But eventually, the absence hits them. Like a punch to the gut. They'll sit in a room that feels cold or emptier. They'll notice the silence where your laughter used to be. The void where your kindness used to fill the space. That's when they'll realize. Not because you told them, but because your absence forced them to feel it. And you're not there to see it. That's the beauty of silence. It doesn't matter if they regret it. It doesn't matter if they miss you. You're not doing this to punish them. You're doing this to free yourself. To stop burning yourself for someone who never felt the heat. So let me ask you, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid they won't care when you leave? That they'll move on without a second thought? Here's the truth. If they don't notice your absence, they never deserved your presence to begin with. And if they do notice, that's their burden to carry, not yours. Walking away quietly isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of strength. Because it takes courage to stop explaining yourself. It takes power to leave without looking back. It takes self-respect to say, I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to see my worth. I see it for myself. And here's the best part. When you choose silence, you reclaim your power. You stop giving them control over your emotions. You stop letting their indifference define your value. You stop needing their validation to feel whole. Walking away quietly doesn't just free you from them, it frees you from the version of yourself that thought you needed them. So let me challenge you. Think of the person who's taken you for granted. The one who's ignored your effort, dismissed your love, and treated you like an option. Now imagine walking away, not with anger, not with bitterness, just silence. Can you feel that? That's your power. That's you reclaiming your worth. Ask yourself this: why are you still fighting for someone who wouldn't lift a finger to fight for you? Why are you still explaining yourself to someone who's already made up their mind? Why are you still setting yourself on fire for someone who wouldn't even hold a match? Stop. Walk away. Let your silence speak. Let it echo louder than any words you could say. Because the truth is, some people won't appreciate your flame until they're left in the dark. And by then you'll be long gone, shining brighter than ever, far beyond their reach. If you're ready to take that step, if you're ready to choose yourself over someone who can't see your worth, then say it with me. I am done. I am free. I am enough. Drop it in the comments below. Let it be your declaration, your promise to yourself that you will never again beg someone to see your value. Because walking away isn't the end, it's the beginning of something beautiful, something powerful, something that belongs to you. 2. The hard truth. Why walking away is necessary. Let me ask you something. How many times have you convinced yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, they'll finally see your worth? How many nights have you stared at your phone waiting for a message that never came, only to tell yourself maybe tomorrow will be different? But it's not, is it? Tomorrow comes and nothing changes. You keep giving. You keep trying. You keep lighting your flame for someone who doesn't even care enough to look your way. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that love requires suffering. That loyalty means staying no matter how poorly we're treated. That holding on is strength and walking away is defeat. Let's shatter that illusion right here, right now. Walking away isn't giving up. It's recognizing when you're the only one fighting. It's understanding that your worth isn't tied to how much pain you can endure for someone else's comfort. It's about realizing that you don't need to explain yourself to people who already chose to dismiss you. Here's the truth that no one wants to tell you. Some people will never value you until they lose you. It's not because you weren't enough, it's because they couldn't see past their own selfishness to appreciate what you brought into their lives. They sat in your warmth and acted like it was their right to be there. They took your time, your kindness, your love, and they gave you crumbs in return. But the problem isn't just them, it's you. It's the part of you that believes you need their approval to feel whole. The part of you that's afraid of the silence that comes after you leave. What if they don't care? What if they move on and never look back? What does that say about you? Let me tell you what it says. Absolutely nothing. Their inability to see your worth isn't a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them. You were a gift, one they didn't bother to unwrap. And their blindness doesn't make you less valuable. So think about this for a moment. If someone handed you a diamond and you tossed it aside because you thought it was just a rock, would that change the diamond's worth? No. The diamond would still shine just as brightly. You just wouldn't get to see it. That's you. You're the diamond. You're the one who shines. And if they can't see it, that's their loss, not yours. So why stay? Why keep fighting for someone who's already made it clear that they don't see you? Ask yourself, what are you holding on to? Is it the person, or is it the idea of who they could be? Are you staying because of love, or because you're afraid of starting over? Because here's another hard truth. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to change. You can't force someone to love you the way you deserve to be loved. And you can't fill someone else's emptiness if they refuse to pick up their own pieces. You've done your part. You've given everything. And now it's time to stop. Not because you don't care, but because you finally care enough about yourself. Walking away doesn't mean you failed. It means you recognize that you can't carry someone who refuses to walk alongside you. Do you know what happens when you stop? When you walk away quietly, without yelling, without explaining, without begging. They feel it. They feel the void where you used to be. They feel the absence of your light, your love, your presence. And it's not because you told them. It's because silence has a way of forcing people to see what they've ignored for so long. Let them sit in that silence. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Let them realize what it means to lose someone like you. And you don't look back. You don't second guess your decision. Because the moment you walk away is the moment you start to heal. It's the moment you stop setting yourself on fire for people who wouldn't even offer you a match. And if you're sitting there, still unsure, still wondering, what if they come back? We'll get to that later. For now, focus on this. Walking away isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about choosing peace over chaos, silence over drama, and self-respect over desperation. Because here's what happens when you leave quietly. You become untouchable. They can't fight you. They can't argue with you. They can't manipulate you. Your silence becomes the loudest thing in their life, echoing over and over again, reminding them of what they lost. You don't need to tell them they hurt you. You don't need to make them understand. Let them figure it out on their own while you move forward, stronger than ever. And when you leave with your head held high. Don't slam the door. Don't send one last text. I don't wait for them to beg you to stay. Just go. Because the truth is, their indifference doesn't define you, but your choice to walk away does. If you're feeling this right now, if this message is hitting home, drop a comment below and write number 1 to let me know you're ready to choose yourself. And while you're at it, hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the truth that will keep you growing stronger every day. This is your time. This is your moment. Walk away quietly and let your absence speak louder than words ever could. Because in that silence, you'll find something you've been missing all along yourself. 3. Why people come back. The truth behind their regret. Have you ever noticed that the moment you finally stop chasing someone, the moment you decide to let go and walk away, they suddenly reappear? Out of nowhere, they come back like a ghost from the past, knocking on your door with sweet words and teary-eyed confessions. But let me ask you this. Why now? Why is it only when you're gone that they realize what they had? Why do they miss you after you've already picked up the broken pieces of yourself? The truth is simple, yet most people don't want to hear it. They don't come back because they love you. They come back because your absence has created a void they can't fill. They come back because the silence you left behind is louder than any argument they could ever win. Think about this for a second. You spent months, maybe even years, fighting to be seen, fighting to be heard, fighting to matter to them. You gave them your time, your heart, your soul, and they dismissed it all. They took you for granted because they assumed you'd always be there. They assumed your light, your warmth, your love was something permanent, something they could always return to whenever it suited them. But then you stopped. You vanished. You walked away. Well, do you know why that shook them? Because people like that, they don't understand loss until it hits them. They only recognize the value of what you brought to their life when it's no longer there to comfort them. It's not because they've changed or because they've suddenly realized your worth. It's because they feel the emptiness. They feel the cold. They feel the weight of silence pressing down on them, and they can't handle it. Here's something you need to remember. Their return isn't about you, it's about them. It's about their discomfort, their loneliness, their ego. They don't miss you, they miss what you gave them. They miss the attention. They miss the convenience. They miss having someone who would set themselves on fire just to keep them warm. Ask yourself this. If someone truly valued you, would they have waited until you were gone to show it? If they genuinely cared, wouldn't they have fought for you when you were standing right in front of them, begging for a shred of their attention. But they didn't. And here they are now, showing up with apologies dripping from their lips and promises they'll never keep. They say, "I miss you," but what they really mean is, "I miss how you made my life easier." They say, "I've changed," but what they really mean is, "I can't stand the silence you left behind." Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're standing in a desert, parched and desperate for water. There's someone holding a jug, someone you've been chasing for days, begging for a single drop to quench your thirst. But they don't give it to you. They just stand there, watching you suffer. Now picture this. You stop begging. You turn your back and you start walking. You're still thirsty, still desperate, but you'd rather take your chances finding your own water than continue to beg someone who doesn't care. And what happens next? Suddenly the jug feels heavy in their hands. They start to panic, not because they care about you, but because they're losing the power they held over you. That's what happens when you walk away. They don't come back out of love. They come back because they don't know how to live without the comfort of your presence. Here's the harsh truth. People like that don't miss you. They miss the role you played in their life. You were their cushion, their safety net, their constant reassurance. You absorbed their chaos, their problems, their insecurities. You poured your energy into fixing them, holding them up, making them feel like they were enough, while they left you empty and drained. And when you walk away, they lose all of that. They lose the comfort. They lose the attention. They lose the person who made their life easier. Let me ask you something else. If they truly cared, why didn't they fight for you when it mattered? Why didn't they notice you slipping away? Why did they let you cry yourself to sleep, feeling invisible, feeling like you weren't enough? The answer is simple. They thought you'd always be there. They didn't believe you had the strength to leave. But you did. And now, here they are, crawling back, because they can't stand the emptiness you left behind. The question you need to ask yourself isn't, will they come back? Because they will. The question is, do I care? Should you open the door for someone who only knocked because they ran out of other options? Should you let them back into your life just because they're lonely, just because they missed the convenience you provided? No. Because you're not a hotel. You're not a temporary escape for someone who didn't value you when they had you. You're not a cushion for their guilt, a bandage for their loneliness, or a shield for their insecurities. You're a person who deserves love, respect, and consistency. When they come back, they'll expect you to be the same person you were before. They'll expect you to open the door, arms wide, ready to forgive. But here's the beauty of walking away. It changes you. The silence forces you to grow. The emptiness makes you stronger. And by the time they come back, you're no longer the person who needed them. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them a chance to prove themselves. Because if they cared, they wouldn't have broken you in the first place. If they respected you, they wouldn't have ignored your worth. When they come back, let them find an empty space where you once stood. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Let them sit in the silence they created and confront the truth they've been avoiding. That they lost someone who would have moved mountains for them, and they'll never find that again. And you'll be free. Free from the need for their validation. Free from the cycle of disappointment and heartbreak. Free to live your life without the burden of their indifference. Let me ask you one more thing. Are you ready to choose yourself? Are you ready to stop looking back? Because when you walk away quietly, you don't just reclaim your power, you create a life where their absence doesn't even matter anymore. If you're feeling this, drop a comment below and write number 1 to let me know you're done settling for less. Hit that like button to help this message reach someone else who needs to hear it. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the truth that will keep you strong, centered, and free. Because here's the reality: they might come back, but by the time they do, you'll be gone, stronger, wiser, and untouchable. And that's how you win. This is your moment. Don't look back. Don't open the door. Let your silence speak louder than any words ever could. 4. Elina's story. Silence is a mirror. Let me tell you a story, one that might sound familiar because you've lived it in some way. This is Elina's story. And while the names might be different, the truth is the same. It's the story of someone who gave everything to someone who never deserved it. It's a story of heartbreak, silence, and the strength to walk away. Elina thought she had it all. She thought she found love, the kind of love that feels like forever. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? The love that makes you feel seen, heard, valued. The kind that makes you believe all the pain you've carried in life has finally led you to something beautiful. For a while, it was perfect. The late-night conversations, the laughter, the promises. "I'll always be here for you," he said. "You're everything I've ever wanted." And she believed him. Because why wouldn't she? We want to believe that love is real, that the person we've chosen sees us, cherishes us. But promises are just words, aren't they? And people, as you've probably learned, can be liars with sweet tongues. Elina gave him everything. Her time, her attention, her energy, her soul. She stayed up at night, soothing his worries, being his rock when the world felt heavy. She poured herself into him, even when she felt like she had nothing left to give. She ignored the signs. She ignored the cracks. Because love, true love, means sticking around through the storms, right? And then the storm came. Slowly at first, he stopped calling as much, stopped texting her good morning, stopped showing up the way he used to. When she reached out for him, his hand was gone, replaced by the cold glow of his phone, as he laughed at someone else's jokes, gave someone else the time he used to give her. Have you ever felt that kind of emptiness? To be sitting right next to someone and feel completely invisible. To scream in silence, begging to be seen, but all you get is indifference. That's what Elina felt. At first she blamed herself. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm too needy. Maybe I'm not enough for him. So she tried harder. She gave more. She shrank herself, trying to become easier to love. But it didn't matter. Because here's the thing about people who take you for granted. They don't change when you give more. They only take more. And then came the messages. Not one, not two, dozens. Proof that while she was breaking herself to hold him up, he was elsewhere chasing a version of love that didn't ask for his effort. Elina didn't confront him. She begged. Can you imagine that? Begging someone who's already betrayed you to stay. She cried, asking questions she didn't really want answers to. Was it me? What did I do wrong? Please just talk to me. But the only thing worse than betrayal is seeing the person you loved look at you like you're pathetic, like your pain is an inconvenience. That's when it hit her. Sitting in the darkness of her room, staring at a reflection she no longer recognized, Elina realized something. This wasn't love. Love doesn't make you feel invisible. Love doesn't make you beg. Love doesn't leave you wondering what you did wrong when you did nothing but give. So she made a choice, not for revenge, not to prove a point. For herself, she walked away. Not with words, not with anger, not with explanations he didn't deserve. She simply disappeared. No texts, no calls, no goodbye. She packed her things while he was at work and left, leaving behind only silence. Let me ask you this, what do you think he felt when he came home to an empty space? At first, probably nothing. People like that, they don't notice what's gone right away. They don't understand loss until the silence starts to close in on them. But then it hits. The cold where warmth used to be. The emptiness where laughter used to echo. The silence where love used to hold everything together. And trust me, he felt it. Oh, he felt it like a sharp jab to the chest. He called her at first casually. Hey, I haven't seen you around. But there was no answer. Then it became desperate. Can we talk? I miss you. But by then it was too late. Elina was gone, not just physically, but emotionally. She wasn't playing games. She wasn't waiting for him to change. She was free. And that's the beauty of walking away quietly. It forces the other person to face themselves, to see their reflection in the mirror of your absence. Silence isn't weakness. Silence isn't avoidance. Silence is a mirror. It shows people the truth they've been too blind to see. Do you think he regretted it? Of course he did. Not because he loved her, but because he missed the comfort. He missed the way she made him feel important. He missed the version of himself that existed when she was around. That's what people like that regret, not losing you, but losing the role you played in their life. And that's the truth no one tells you. When someone comes back, they're not coming back for you. They're coming back because they can't handle the emptiness. They can't handle the silence. They can't handle the realization that they weren't as strong as they thought without you there to hold them up. So let me ask you, if someone comes crawling back into your life, begging for another chance, what will you do? Will you open the door and let them in? Or will you let them sit in the silence they created and learn the lesson you walked away to teach? Because the silence you leave behind is powerful. It forces them to see the truth. It forces them to confront what they've lost. And that reflection is ugly, isn't it? It's haunting. It's everything they tried to avoid seeing when they dismissed you, ignored you, and took you for granted. But the best part, you're not there to witness it. You don't need to see their regret. You don't need to hear their apologies. You don't need their closure because you've already given it to yourself. You walked away quietly, and in doing so, you reclaimed your power. So let me say this again. Walking away isn't about punishing them. It's about choosing yourself. It's about recognizing that your worth doesn't decrease just because someone failed to see it. Are you ready to walk away? Are you ready to let silence be your loudest response? If you've ever been in Elina's shoes, if this story feels like it was written for you, drop a comment below and write number 1. Let the world know you're done begging, done settling, done giving yourself to people who don't deserve you. And while you're here, hit that like button if this message is resonating with you. Let's make sure this truth reaches someone else who needs to hear it. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe so you can continue growing stronger every day. Elina's story is proof that silence is powerful. It's not the absence of words, it's the presence of self-respect. Let your silence teach them what your words never could. Let it echo in their mind long after you've walked away. And remember this, you don't need to wait for someone to realize your worth. You already know it. This is your moment. Walk away, stand tall, and let your absence speak louder than words ever could. 5. How to walk away. Steps to reclaim your power. You've heard the truth. You've seen the power of silence. But let me ask you this. Are you ready to act on it? Because knowing you need to walk away and actually doing it are two very different things. Walking away quietly requires strength, real strength. It means choosing yourself, even when your heart is screaming for you to stay. It means giving up the fantasy you built in your mind and facing the reality of what's in front of you. So how do you do it? How do you walk away without looking back? How do you reclaim your power when it feels like you've already given it all away? Let me show you. Because this isn't just advice, it's a roadmap. Follow these steps, and you'll see what happens when you choose silence, when you choose peace, when you choose yourself. Step 1. Leave quietly. The first thing you need to understand is this. Walking away doesn't require a grand performance. You don't need to slam doors, send long goodbye texts, or shout about everything they did wrong. Why? Because explanations give them power. Explanations tell them you still care. Silence, on the other hand, says everything you need to say without a single word. When you leave quietly, you send a message they can't ignore. I don't owe you my time. I don't owe you closure. I don't owe you anything. Think about it like this. When someone breaks your heart, they expect a reaction. They expect you to cry, to fight, to beg. Why? Because your pain feeds their ego. It reassures them that they were important enough to hurt you. Don't give them that satisfaction. Walk away quietly and let them feel the weight of their actions on their own. Picture yourself doing this. No final texts, no last phone call, no dramatic goodbye. You simply get up and leave, like a storm passing through, leaving nothing behind but silence. It will haunt them, trust me. They won't know what happened. They'll sit there, staring at their phone, waiting for you to reach out. And when you don't, they'll start to question everything. Do they deserve that much power over you? No. And this silence isn't for them, it's for you. It's your way of saying, I'm done. I'm free. I'm enough. Step 2. Embrace the silence. Here's the hard part. Walking away is easy compared to what comes next, the silence. When you leave, the silence won't just surround them, it will surround you too. It will feel heavy, overwhelming, even suffocating at first. Because silence has a way of exposing all the things we've been trying to avoid. But here's the truth. That silence isn't your enemy. It's your salvation. It's the space where you finally get to hear yourself again. For so long, you've been drowning in their chaos, their indifference, their noise. Now the silence is yours to fill. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you sat alone with your thoughts? When was the last time you gave yourself the same love, care, and attention that you so freely gave to them? Use the silence to heal. Sit in it and let it show you the truth about who they were, the truth about what you deserve, the truth about the strength you've had all along. Because walking away isn't the end, it's the beginning of rediscovering yourself. The silence will teach you things you didn't want to know but needed to learn. It will remind you that you were never incomplete without them. It will show you that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's attention. And when you finally learn to sit in that silence without reaching for them, you'll realize something powerful. You don't miss them. You miss the version of yourself you lost while trying to hold on to them. Step 3. Rebuild yourself. Walking away is just the first step. The real transformation happens when you start rebuilding yourself from the ground up. You see, the person you were when they broke you, she's gone. She doesn't exist anymore. And that's a good thing, because now you get to decide who you want to become. Start small. Reconnect with the things that make you feel alive. Pick up old hobbies you abandoned while you were busy making them your priority. Write, paint, travel, go for walks, learn something new. Fill your days with things that remind you of your strength, your creativity, your light. Imagine your life as a cup. For too long, you poured everything you had into someone else's hands, and they didn't even care when you ran empty. Now it's time to fill that cup for yourself, one drop at a time. And when you do, something magical happens. You stop needing them. You stop waiting for their approval. You realize you were whole all along, you just forgot it for a while. This process takes time, so be patient. Healing isn't a straight line. There will be days when you feel strong and free, and there will be days when the memories creep back in. That's okay. Let the memories come, but don't let them chain you to the past. Every day you choose yourself is a day you move closer to the life you deserve. Step 4. Stop romanticizing the past. This step is crucial. When people walk away, our minds have a way of playing tricks on us. You start to remember the good times, the laughter, the moments when they made you feel special. You start to think, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I overreacted. But let me stop you right there. Do you remember the nights you cried yourself to sleep? Do you remember how small they made you feel? Do you remember how hard you had to fight just to get a fraction of their attention? You're not missing them. You're missing the idea of who you thought they were, the person you loved. That was a version you created in your mind, a version that doesn't exist. The real them is the one who ignored you, dismissed you, and took you for granted. Don't let nostalgia lie to you. Here's the truth. You can't heal by holding on to what broke you. You can't move forward while romanticizing a past that was never as perfect as you remember. Let it go. Let them go. Step 5. Walk away for good. This is the final step, and it's the hardest one of all. Walking away quietly doesn't just mean leaving physically, it means leaving emotionally. It means closing the door and locking it, no matter how many times they come back knocking. And they will come back. They'll call. They'll text. They'll say they've changed. They'll promise to do better. But remember this. The person who broke you isn't the person who will heal you. Their return isn't about love, it's about control. So when they come back, don't answer. Don't explain. Don't let them pull you back into the chaos you fought so hard to escape. You owe them nothing. You owe yourself everything. Imagine it now. You, walking away with your head held high. You don't need their validation. You don't need their closure. You are free. You are whole. You are enough. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to reclaim your power and choose yourself, drop a comment below and write number 1. Let the world know you're done settling. Hit that like button so this truth can reach someone else who needs to hear it. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. This is just the beginning of your journey, and I'll be here to walk it with you every step of the way. Because when you walk away quietly, you don't just change your life, you take back everything they tried to take from you. Your worth, your peace, your power. So what are you waiting for? Walk away. Let your absence speak louder than words ever could. And never look back. Take a deep breath. You've walked with me through the truth, the hard, raw truth that most people would rather ignore. You've learned the power of walking away, the weight of silence, and the truth behind why people come back. You've seen the roadmap to reclaiming yourself and letting go of the version of you who thought you needed their love to feel whole. Now let's bring it all together, because this moment right here is where everything changes. This isn't just a video. This isn't just a message. It's a call to action. It's your moment to rise, to stand tall, and say with every fiber of your being, I choose me. You see, walking away isn't just about leaving someone behind. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and untouchable. It's about finding freedom in the silence and realizing that you don't need their words, their love, or their approval to feel whole. Let me ask you something. Are you ready? Are you ready to stop looking back? To stop waiting for someone to see your worth when you already know it yourself? To stop being someone's second choice, someone's convenience, someone's safety net? Because here's what happens when you walk away for good. You reclaim your peace. You stop letting their chaos define you. You stop waiting for the apology that will never come. You stop hoping that one day they'll change. Instead, you choose yourself. You create your own closure. You learn that walking away isn't losing, it's winning. It's freedom. It's strength. What does it look like to truly walk away? It looks like this. You wake up in the morning, and the weight you've been carrying is gone. You look in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, you recognize the person staring back. You go through your day, and their absence no longer feels like a loss. It feels like a gift. You realize you never needed them to complete you because you were never incomplete. And the best part, when they finally realize what they lost, when the silence becomes too much for them to bear, you won't care. You won't look back. You won't feel the urge to explain yourself or justify your choice, because you'll know that walking away was the strongest thing you could have done. That's the power of your silence. That's the strength of choosing yourself. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been waiting for permission to let go, this is it. If you've been wondering whether you're strong enough to walk away, let me remind you, you are. Say it with me, out loud, wherever you are right now. I am done. I am free. I am enough. Say it like you mean it. Say it until it sinks in. Say it until you believe it with every part of your soul. Then drop it in the comments below. Let the world hear your declaration. Let it be your promise to yourself that you will never again beg for someone to see your worth. Write it now. I am done. I am free. I am enough. Because you are. You always have been. Now I want you to take this energy and carry it with you. This isn't just a lesson for today. It's a truth that will guide you for the rest of your life. There will be times when the silence feels heavy, when the memories try to pull you back. But every time that happens, I want you to remember this. You didn't lose them, they lost you. You didn't walk away from love, you walked away from pain. You didn't give up, you chose yourself. And if they come back, if they knock on the door you closed so tightly behind you, let your absence remind them of everything they took for granted. Let your silence scream the truth they refused to hear when you were still there. And don't you dare look back. You deserve more. You deserve better. You deserve peace. Now it's your turn. If you're ready to reclaim your power, if you're ready to let go and rise stronger than ever, hit that like button right now. Let's get this message out to as many people as possible. Let's remind the world that walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. And if you're feeling this message, if you know this is exactly what you needed to hear today, drop a comment below and write number 1. Let this be your anthem, your declaration, your first step toward freedom. And finally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. I'll be right here to guide you through every step of this journey, through the pain, through the healing, and into the life you deserve. You're not alone in this. Walking away quietly isn't the end, it's the beginning of something beautiful. So walk away, stand tall, and let your absence speak louder than words ever could. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for choosing to grow. I believe in you, and I hope you believe in yourself too. Remember this, you are done, you are free, you are enough. Take care, keep rising, and never look back.